So I'm all set up. Adam's over here, and he is trying a new tent. What is this? This is the Lightheart Gear. Which one?
Duo.
Lightheart Gear Duo.
I need my space.
Pretty interesting looking tent. I just opened up my email this morning and there's an advertisement from Hyperlite Mountain Gear announcing a new product called the Splash Bivy. So I'll just read, literally what it says from the website. For backpackers, thru hikers, or fast packers that value high mileage days over long afternoons and evenings at camp, the Splash Bivy supplements sleep systems with basic coverage that can be used on its own on dry nights or paired with an 8x10 flat tarp or mid-one tarp in wet conditions. Designed for thru hiking, fast packing, great for backpacking. So $250 bivy made of DCF, and weight for a regular is 5.5 ounces and 6.29 ounces for a long. Pretty interesting because I've used systems like that quite a lot over the years in different combinations and permutations. When you're using a tarp, it's really nice to have some kind of protection from bugs, wetness on the ground, etc. But it's $250 US. And if you pair that with their 8x10 flat tarp, which is $395 US, you're getting a $650 shelter that weighs in at, let's call it 6 ounces plus 10 ounces, give or take. So 16 ounces for a full shelter. I'm just not sure if there's much space for tarps now with all of the other products on the market. There is a lot of tarp content on my channel. There's a special place for tarps in my heart, and that's a slightly different story. But if you back it up to why tarps became part of the ultralight system, it's really dating back to when a lightweight tent was 5, 6, 7 pounds. The simplest option to replace or to lighten your load from that was a tarp, really popularized, I think, by Ray Jardine. He has a tarp book, and that was my first ultralight style of shelter. In the last few years, I've stopped using tarps as much just because there's so many other really lightweight options that are on the market that have a lot of the benefits of a tarp. So yeah, obviously tarp is really lightweight and classically inexpensive. So I have a tarp that's made out of sil nylon that I made that's kind of a shaped tarp, wider at one end, wider at the head than the foot, and it weighs something like 14 ounces. And this is just plain sil nylon. Then if you add on a bivy or something like that, you're getting up to, just a piece of Tyvek to sleep on. That brings it closer to 20 ounces. If you add in some kind of bivy, often my bug style bivvies are 9 ounces, 8 or 9 ounces. So you're getting to 1.5 pounds, 24 ounces. And that's where you're entering the world of a pretty normal lightweight trekking pole tent. The Durston X-Mid, the classic, not the solid, is right around that 29 ounces, and you're getting this really bomb-proof shelter. My solid is 32 ounces, and there's a lot of very good standard freestanding or semi-freestanding tents on the market, like the Tiger Wall UL, that's 37 ounces. And those are all, they're not budget oriented items, but they're pretty inexpensive for what you're getting. X-Mids are really quite inexpensive. Even the Big Agnes Tiger Walls aren't too bad. There's other options out there. I don't know every tent on the market. What happens is, to get the protection in a tarp that you would need, that you could get from a tent, sort of the all-around protection, and you'll never have the full all-around protection that you do from a tent when you're in a tarp, you need to get a bigger tarp. So My favorite is 8 by 10. It can be shaped for sure, and that reduces the weight a lot. But one of the issues, or something that I find funny about the DCF tarps, is that you need such a big tarp that the cost in those shelters are the material more than anything else. So the notion that you would spend $400 on a flat tarp is a lot of cash. You can get a pretty fantastic tent for $400 that is definitely quite light. Obviously not as light as this. Then if you add in a $250 bivy, you can get a lot of great shelters for $650. Like the Plex Solo, $599. $599 for a fully integrated DCF pyramid style tent with the built-in bathtub, bug protection, $699, 11.8 ounces. Less than the tarp bivy combo from Hyperlite Mountain Gear. The Altaplex, bigger version, it's actually something I'm going to be borrowing from my friend Justin in the next few weeks to actually give that one a fair shot. $669 US. Oh, that's the Altaplex Lite. What's the Altaplex Normal? Altaplex Classic, 16.5 ounces. Altaplex Lite, 13.2. You're talking same price for both, $669 US. Not cheap tents by any means. These are premium products with a premium price tag, but similar to a tarp, similar to a DCF tarp, just because they probably use less material than a huge flat tarp. Some other options, the Offset Solo, $650. Apparently that's a pretty interesting shelter. There's a ton of other options out there from Tarp Tent. I'm not as familiar with Tarp Tent products. Durston X-Mids in the DCF, obviously very good options. You know, you're in the same price range as all of these Zpacks products, just different tents for different people's preferences, but you're getting these fully enclosed shelters that are extremely light at the 1 pound or sub 1 pound level, and you don't have to deal with a bivy or anything like that. Get into something like the Hexamid Pocket Tarp from Zpacks, $379 US, fully shaped, fully enclosed at 5.5 ounces. That's insane. I'm sure that is too small for someone like me, but if you fit in that, you've got something there for that's obscenely light. And then there's a completely other brand that I would want to mention, which is Yama Mountain Gear. I've used their Ceraform 2-person tarp quite a bit, and it's a great shelter, fully enclosed. What I like about that A-frame style is that the shelter's far away from your feet, so you have a massive amount of space near your head, but then also a lot of space near your feet. Would you consider using a tarp on more of a real backpacking trip? I 100% understand that going out to tarp camp is almost a hobby in itself, and I still do that sometimes and say, you know what, I'm gonna go camping with a tarp tonight. If I was planning a PCT hike, a long distance hike, I'd definitely go with a tent, because it's just something that I wouldn't want to be thinking about every day in terms of setting up my shelter. I just want to throw in some pegs, put a trekking pole under there and be done, go to bed. So let me know what you guys think. Is this the end of the tarp era? I tend to think so, but some of you might think differently.